So today we're going to do the last lecture of the semester. So chapter 24 is going to be about ecology and the nature of ecosystems. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and get started. Biosphere. That's the portion of the earth that contains living organisms. Ecosystems is a specific area of the biosphere where organisms interact with each other and with the physical and chemical environment. Types of terrestrial ecosystems. Climate conditions define the biomes. For example, tropical rainforests, savanna, temperate grasslands, deserts, taiga, and tundra. Aquatic ecosystems are divided into freshwater and saltwater. Two types of freshwater ecosystems: standing water, such as lakes and ponds, and running water, such as rivers and streams. And these can be further divided into the amount of nutrients they contain. The ocean is a marine ecosystem that covers 70% of Earth. Coral reefs located offshore are home to the incredible diversity of marine life. Estuaries, where fresh and saltwater mix, are one of the most diverse aquatic ecosystems. Living and non-living components. So ecosystems contain both biotic, which are living, and abiotic, which are non-living components. Some examples of the biotic includes nutrients in the soil, water, and weather. Biotic components are categorized into how they obtain their nutrients, such as, for example, autotrophs versus heterotrophs, and we'll talk about the two of them. Have the ability to capture energy from the sun to make their own food. So autotrophs use inorganic nutrients, an outside source of energy, to produce organic nutrients. Therefore, they're co-producers because they produce food. For example, algae carries out photosynthesis in freshwater and marine ecosystems. Green plants are the primary photosynthesizers in terrestrial ecosystems. Are consumers. They consume food. Herbivores feed directly on producers such as plants and algae. Examples of these are deer, rabbit, caterpillars, and some birds in terrestrial habitats, protists in aquatic ecosystems. Carnivores feed on other animals. Some examples are snakes and hogs. Omnivores, they feed on plants and animals. For example, us, we are considered omnivores. There are multiple levels of consumers in an ecosystem. The level depends on where the consumers is in the food chain in relation to the producers. For example, primary consumers, here we're talking about plant-eating insects. Secondary consumers, we have the insect-eating frogs. Tertiary consumers, we have the frog-eating snakes. So the top level consumers are called the predators. Deciduous feeders feed on detritus, for example, decomposing particles of organic matter. An example of these are airworms, beetles, termites, and ants are terrestrial detritus feeders. So bacteria and fungi are what we call decomposers. They play a huge role when it comes to the environment. So they basically release inorganic substances that can be taken up by plants. Niche. It's the role of an organism in an ecosystem. An example of this will be producers or carnivores. Phenomena characterize every ecosystem. So one is energy flow, and it begins with the producers that actually take energy from the sun. But it doesn't have to be energy from the sun, but usually it is. It can also be chemical energy as well. And then the second one is a nutrient cycling. So producers take in inorganic chemicals from the environment. Then they make organic nutrients that can be used by them and by others in the ecosystem. Only some of the nutrients made by autotrophs is passed on to the heterotrophs. Plants use some to fuel their cellular respiration. Similarly, only a small percentage of nutrients taken in by heterotrophs is available to higher level consumers. Some of the food eaten by herbivores is never digested and is eliminated as feces. Wastes are excreted in urine. Much is used for metabolism and becomes heat. Only a small fraction of the food energy is converted into increased body weight, which will become available for carnivores. Only about 55% of the original energy is absorbed by plants and is available to an ecosystem. An important part in order for us to know is the substances are not lost to an ecosystem during elimination or waste and death of an organism. So what happens is that decomposers convert organic nutrients back into the inorganic chemicals that then are released into the soil or atmosphere. Chemicals complete their cycle in an ecosystem when pollutants are absorbed from the atmosphere or soil. Food web. It's a diagram that describes trophic or feeding relationships. Grazing food webs. It begins with a nut tree and a grass. Caterpillars eat oak leaves. Mice, rabbits, and deer eat leaves and grass that are near the ground. Birds, chipmunks, and mice feed on the seeds and nuts, but they are omnivores because they also feed on caterpillars as well. These herbivores and omnivores are the food for a number of different carnivores. The teacher of food webs begins with waste and dead organisms. Detritus is food for decomposers and soil organisms such as earthworms. Earthworms are food for carnivores and invertebrates. In turn, salamanders and shrews may consume the carnivorous insects. The members of the digestive food webs may become food for above-ground carnivores, so the digestive and grazing food webs are connected.